SEO This Week. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of SEO This Week. So what are we going to cover? Skype. Oh my God, it's dying. And then a whole lot more.
Did you know a press release alone isn't enough? Visibility is key. You need a multi-platform strategy to share your story across news, audio, video, and social media. Welcome to Magic PR, where your press release transforms into a powerful media experience, maximizing exposure and engagement. We distribute your release to top outlets like Yahoo Finance, Bloomberg, Business Insider, and more. Plus, your release is SEO optimized, ensuring better search rankings. But we don't stop there. We turn your press release into a podcast, distributing it across 25 platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and SoundCloud. Then, we create a social media content for Facebook, X, and Instagram, and even transform your story into a video press release for YouTube and top media sites. Video drives over 80% of higher engagement, and short-form content is king. We make viral videos for your YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, and more. At Magic PR, we don't just publish, we amplify. Get your press release seen, heard, and shared everywhere. Visit magicpr.com today and take your brand to the next level. Back to you, Clint.
All right, so lead off stories. Microsoft's finally shutting down Skype. I mean, Skype's been around for ages, years, and it's probably, what is it? I would argue that, other than like Merc Chat or IRC, is probably one of the more oldest chat platforms out there. So now we have Discord and Slack and et cetera. And now Microsoft is migrating everyone from Skype over to Teams. I kind of don't. I mean, I used Teams before in a corporate function and it was fine. I've tried to use it for my own team. It's fine, but as a chat app, I don't necessarily know. And then number two is kind of, I want to get off of chat apps. You know what I mean? So you have Discord open and then Slack open and then WhatsApp and Telegram and Skype. And you're like, Jesus, let's just go to one for Christ's sake. So I'm kind of indifferent in regards to it closing down. I think it'll force a lot of people that are using Skype as like their sole customer engagement platform to rethink and hopefully find something better for that purpose, like a forum or their own personal community, or maybe even a Facebook group. But I'm kind of in the own your race course. If you've never heard that, it's a James Schramko saying. So if you build your business off of other people's platforms like Skoll or Facebook or whatever, if something happens to those platforms, Shopify, for instance, so they have a lot of control over you. Shopify stores, you hear horror stories all the time. They just shut the store down because somebody arbitrarily complained, and they just, they can do that in their terms of service. They can just shut your store down. I argue that you should have at least a place somewhere. You don't necessarily have to use it all the time, but a place somewhere where your community can find you that is not on a third-party thing. It's on your hosting. You pay for your hosting. You upkeep your own software, technology, and everything. And if Facebook shuts down or this crazy stuff happens, like who would have thought Skype was going to close down anytime soon? Well, you already have a place for your customers to engage with you on a permanent basis. So I think you guys should look into that. I do that with What Ranks. I have Buddy Press on there. I pay for a yearly. They, maintain it, keep it updated and all that stuff in regards to the WordPress theme. And it's essentially like a forum. So think Skoll, but I own it, right? If I stop paying for the updates for the theme, then it'll still work. I just can't get updates, and I can have that forever. And it's the same if I own the forum or something like that. But at the end of the day, an email list is where you really want to get your customers and get them engaged in emails, because you can always have the email list. It doesn't matter which platform you're marketing on and engaging with your customers. So it's kind of a big one for some people. Other people, it's a nothing burgers. With that said, bye-bye, Skype. 59% of Americans click on brands they know in a Google results survey. This is interesting. Interesting because honestly, I know where they're going with it. They're trying to, a lot of people are preaching now, brand, new brand, brand. And then they say, well-known brands get more traffic. And then they ask a survey, and the questions, my guess, is probably shaped to get them to click those kind of answers. But it is true also, right? So if you know a brand and you heard of a brand, I don't know, you're buying a car and you like Chevy, and you look for something like cars and you're naturally drawn to Chevy, then you're going to click through into that brand. And I would argue that's probably human nature, regardless if you're doing searching or in a store shopping or whatever, right? So this isn't necessarily old news. The question the question is, how do I leverage this as a business owner? And it's about controlling your brand positioning. And part of it is with SEO. I'm an SEO guy. So clearly I have to lead you on into part of it is being an SEO. And what that means is, if you hire an SEO agency, one of the questions that they should ask you is, what other marketing are you doing? And hopefully SEO is not the only marketing you're doing. And this marketing plays into your SEO way more than you think. So let's say you're doing postcards and maybe you do some TV stuff because it's local. And I deal with mostly local businesses. So, and a lot of the local businesses have access to smaller level regional news stations or that can do TV for cheaper. Anyway, so you have those things going, and it results in, like, if I'm seeing your pest control ad in the value shopper packs, you know what I'm talking about. I see postcards come in every once in a while. Maybe you have door hanger systems where if you're servicing one person, you go to the neighbors around and drop some door hangers because, hey, you're already there. Why not drop them on the doors? And then a person actually needs your service. They go to Google and search for it. And it's not necessarily, oh, I'm looking for that brand. But when they see it, the brand recognition comes in, and then you increase your click-through rate, which connects that. If you see what I did there, it connected that previous story. So that's what you want to do with your SEO campaigns. Will they sometimes just search for you straight up? Sure. If you have a really big marketing budget like the lawyers do, here we have Lerner and Rowe, 222-2222. They have a catchy phrase. They have a catchy phone number. If I'm in a car accident, I'm going to remember them right off the bat when I do my searching for a personal injury attorney or a car accident attorney, right? So think of it that way. I might not necessarily, search directly for Lerner and Rowe. I'm probably going to remember their phone number, so I might even do that search because it's a catchy phone number, but not everyone's going to have a catchy phone number. But when I do search for pest control example, Ram Pest, I see their trucks driving all over the place here in Yuma. I see their billboards. I see their door hangers. I see their postcards. I see their branding in the value packs. So when I do a Google search for pest control and I see, oh, there's Ram Pest. Yeah, I've seen all their stuff. Their click-through rate is going to go higher. As their click-through rate goes higher, inevitably, if that happens enough, their ranking will go higher because CTR, natural CTR from users, is a factor inside of the algorithm. Then if you're not there, if you're not pre-positioned inside of SEO for any variations of what people might possibly be searching when they need your pest control services, you're going to be missing the mark. So that's how you control your brand position. It's beyond just the typical stuff. And I do this still too, but if you go to Google and you search for your brand, this is where it all starts, right? So homepage or your website, your socials, all that, start taking over page one at least, and then work your way into page two as well. So you can control this a whole lot better. Get yourself a map if you have, if you're a business that needs or can leverage a map. You can do corporate headquarters if you have an e-com and all that. I would argue you don't necessarily have to do that. If you do some good branding, you're going to pop in some knowledge graph stuff too, and that'll kick in after all your socials and everything and time goes, and some backlinks. So, but don't skip branding, but don't fall for the hype either. That branding is the new play. Typically, I find that people who can't rank for anything start playing brand position game, because it's easy to rank for your brand name if you have a good one. Forecasting. This is another thing. I like forecasting, and I also hate forecasting, because SEO forecasting is about guessing, and guessing is what you do with Ahrefs, SEMrush, and Majestic data, especially if you're doing traffic analysis and, what are they getting their traffic, and, Systrix, SimilarWeb. Those are all guesstimating traffic, and this is actually guesstimating outcome of your SEO campaigns. I actually have my own template that I use for this. I got it years ago. It's on Excel, and there's plenty of other. Like this is a Google Sheet. Let's click this, and you can see the increases. You can play around with stuff, and then you can generate this forecast. And what it really does is go, hey, Mr. Customer Guy, if we rank you for these are your potential, this is the potential opportunities you can get. And it's a sales tool. Problem is, if you have a sophisticated customer and they hang on to this sales tool, and let's say that all the keywords you chose or they chose and are forcing you to optimize for don't generate sales, and then these numbers are, and then you got to answer to, why am I not getting my sales that you said I was going to get? So if you're going to use forecasting, make sure that you're very clear that this is projected. Like if everything meets the conditions and all is right in the world, this is you're gonna get. Mine actually takes into account click-through rate. Mine takes into account conversion rate of a website. Mine takes into account possible conversion rate of sales. Never fall for a client or a sales guy that goes, well, someone calls me, I'm going to close them like 60% of the time. I've never met anyone that's actually 60%. So I always, I go down to 5% of your leads that your website generate is going to convert. I think that's actually pretty low. 15% of your traffic will convert to leads. That's average. You can do a whole lot better with CRO. And then 5% of those leads are going to convert into actual sales. And I use those numbers when I'm doing my forecasting. And it's actually, this is good because you can use this to disqualify people too. And people will actually appreciate it. If they want to target or they're in a business where there's just no traffic whatsoever in search, and beyond branding, SEO is necessarily going to help them, and they're probably better off spending their money elsewhere. For instance, I worked with a company up in Washington that did satellite or cell tower installations. That was their primary business, and that's what they wanted to market. And I'm like, how do you get your customers now? Well, they reach out, and the companies reach out and call us. I said, do you think that those people are actually on Google looking for you? No, they've met you. They've done business with you before, or done business with companies that that are supporting their current cell towers, and then those companies have done business with you on previous projects and they refer you. So what makes you think this is going to change and the SEO is going to be good for you? And they still didn't get it. And then we gave them a forecasting model, and then they're like, oh, okay, I got it. So this is good for trust building. It's good for, should I even bother getting into it? It's good for potential ROI stuff. It is a good sales tool. Just be careful with SEO forecasting. Relevance and helpfulness. This is from Marie Hayes, and it's a good article, but really it's a summarization of what AI says relevance is about, and then taking some bits and pieces out of these quality raters guidelines, and it's a decent read, and it's possible. The problem is it's a lot of there's a lot of guessing in regards to what is out, but there is a prompt in here. Let me find it that I think would be interesting. Here are the keywords and keywords bringing traffic to this page. And here's the content pasted in. What is the main purpose of this page? What are users trying to accomplish, and can better structure this page to meet those needs? I think is actually pretty cool. So what you do is you get the keywords out of Search Console. I would go high impressions, especially if this is a brand new page or a newer page. You use your impressions count, sort by impressions, get higher impressions, put that word in, and then your article, or in ChatGPT 4.0, you can actually link the URL and it can go read the page. And then have it spit this back to you. The other thing you can do is take the Matt Diggity prompt. Let me see if I should have it here. Here it is. Nope, that's Matt Cuts. Where is it? Framework outline part. I don't have it here. Go to Matt Diggy's channel. He's got a prompt for running ChatGPT, and he's given it the quality raters guidelines. You can do something like that too. So I would combine these and see what you get out of that. I'm going to actually craft a custom pump like this, and then I'm going to put it in my Discord group when I'm done, and see if we can squeeze a little bit more juice out of it and get a better result. I'm anticipating that we'll be able to. But I think this is actually a pretty smart use of AI right here. You just want to help craft it. Now remember, what are users trying to accomplish, and how can I better assess those needs? There's a lot of guessing in here, and that guessing will start with your keyword research and what is the conversion point for that particular article. If it's just informational based, whatever, but and you can kind of guess and play around with buyer personas maybe if you want to. I wouldn't mess with it too much. It would be kind of overthinking it in that regards. But if it's an e-com or a commercial or a transactional search type, then you need to know the actual and give the AI the actual conversion optimization point there. So if let's say you have keywords going to a local landing page for personal injury attorney, since we're on that one, you do personal injury attorney Phoenix, and then here's your content that I have. Here's the pages that Google is ranking it for with higher impressions. I want to improve my content so I can rank higher for these words. Then, and the user, what the user is looking to accomplish is, and specify that in your prompt, and then how can I better structure the page or add more to it. So I want to play around with this prompt and see if I can expand it, make it a little bit better, and combine it with a couple of my other writing prompts and see what we get out of it. This is it's a robots refresher. So I guess the Google folks have been getting a lot of questions about the Robots.txt, especially considering that Google it has, with the AI and just going and willy-nilly, taking everything. Everyone gave OpenAI shit, but when Google does it, they're like, oh, it's okay. Anyway, so just a series, you can see more of it on how the robots.txt file works. And I think there's some opportunity for some testing in there. See in which situations Googlebot follows the robots.txt versus which situations that it obeys it. That'll be pretty interesting as well. And, if you run any SEO tools like Screaming Frog or Sitebulb or whatever, that you can just turn a setting and tell the tool to ignore the robots.txt. So there's nothing stopping Googlebot, for example, or Google from telling Googlebot to ignore the robots.txt. But if assuming they're doing their part in honoring the robots.txt, you're doing your part in leveraging it to keep people away from parameter URLs, for example, and keep that kind of stuff. This refresher, as it continues to progress through the month of March, might actually be a good thing. YouTube statistics. This is pretty interesting because I most of my lead generation stuff comes from YouTube or comes from doing podcasts. The website is okay, and then when I was ranking for those 1,400 city SEO terms, top 3 my city SEO, the leads from ranking in my market suck, right? But if I get them from YouTube, podcasting, and referrals and stuff, they're actually pretty good. So this is really on the nose for me, and want to bring some more to the table in regards to SEO content. Understanding that the audience is marginal at best when you consider it to something like Matt Armstrong's or Victory Outdoor Services channels. Those channels get, they post and within an hour they've got a couple thousand views, right? Whereas we're lucky in the SEO space, legit channels that aren't buying views, 500-600 views, unless you're like a Mac Diggity, he's got a good email list, and he can get up there with some decent view counts naturally. So having some of this stuff is pretty interesting. One thing I like to note is, where is it? There was a TLDR here. Where is it? Ranking the job search, average channel, 3 positions. Here you go. Only 6% of YouTube videos that rank in top 3 have titles exact match search. I thought it was pretty interesting. Well, 75% are related keywords. So that's an interesting thing. And I could say that I've seen it. I've deliberately made titles so that they would target exact match searches, and it was, for better or worse, kind of a pain in the ass to rank for them. Versus if I went a little bit more creative and thought about it from a CTR perspective, ultimately what ends up happening is I have related keywords in my titles, and they rank pretty well, even from a primary term. So I thought that was a really good, interesting thing to go. Also, if you're going to do videos, keep them in HD. It's just easier to watch them that way, especially if you're doing something like I'm doing here, where there's some text and you're illustrating that. There's nothing worse than having low quality and then they're just blurring. Or instructional videos, same thing, blurry. So this is a good post if you're doing YouTube SEO and you want to do some channel testing, stuff like that. This one here, I don't know. So it's like I've watched 2-hour videos on YouTube. people are watching full-length movies on YouTube nowadays, etc. So, I mean, unless you're just trying to get, if I'm talking about SEO, an hour is probably the max that you want to listen to me. If anything, you're going to do what I do is and jump through videos as well. So I don't know, avoid long form videos over 10 minutes long. I guess that's okay if you're looking for the scanner, but if you're looking at someone that likes and that you want to establish a relationship with, the long form videos might actually be better. So I would play with this a little bit, like do a semantic mastery guys do. They take the long form videos and turn them into short forms. So you want to watch the shorts, and then eventually you get into the long video, and then maybe you engage with them later. So that would be a good thing to check out. But this is a good YouTube SEO article, I think. One of the better ones I've seen in a while. Google IPs. So if you're looking and following along Google IP stuff, and there's a lot of bots that, or there's a lot of people that are using the Google bot user agent and then messing with your websites and trying to do hacking. And what a lot of protecting services like Cloudflare, for example, they end up blocking Googlebot. Well, they changed their IPs, and unless you know that, unless you're actually checking it out, and it will end up Googlebot will get denied 403 forbidden errors, and then that affects your overall trust score of your website, and your rankings can fall. It's not 100% that happens, but it could happen. So there is a page on here verifying the Googlebot, and if you scroll all the way down here, you'll get these. You can get to this list of Google IP addresses. It looks like this. And if you have security settings that are blocking bots and etc., at least make sure that these IPs are whitelisted. You can also set up like a Hexa Watch service or something like that, and every time that this gets changed, you get notified. That would be a good best practice, or find another service that'll just monitor this page, and every time you get practice, you can update your firewalls to make sure that these IPs don't get blocked. Classification. This is super nerd stuff. Olaf really does always write good super nerd stuff. So if you want to know about score versus classifier in regards to possible ways that Google might be doing that, then this would be handy for you if you're looking for arguments for or against TF IDF, for example. This will be handy for you. And then, just some of the things that Google has talked about in patents, et cetera, and how that all works. The short version is right here. The query, the refinement, the intent, the document matching, the scoring of those documents. These are all these documents related to this. Here's the score of them, and then the ranking process, the quality classification. So this one is a little bit scoring and quality classification. I would actually probably flip them. But also I can see why it would go this way. You score them first and then you classify them in regards to the stuff that he's pulled out of the algorithm, the patents here, and then clean personalization, and then the SERPs, and then re-ranking. So I would argue that you can probably flip-flop scoring or classification, but that would be really based depending on processing and server stuff and all that other whatchamacallits. But this is really interesting just to kind of know. Again, he goes kind of super nerd on you, so be ready to anticipate that if you go read all those articles. This is by Ryan Stewart, and I'm gonna kind of bag him a little bit. So, short version is he's telling his target market. These are lawyers. This is one of his funnels. This is a blog post, and he's saying you don't need blog posts for your site, and he's doing it with a blog post. Ironic, I don't know. But what he's saying is that you should focus at the bottom of the funnel first, and then the top of the funnel, informational content last. So his first 12 months, practice attorney, blah, blah, blah. And then mid 12 months after that, middle funnel, guides, etc. And then after that, get into legal questions in your practice area and everything. And for me, I think this is completely horseshit. And here's why. You need to, let's say you have a location page, practice area attorney in location, right? And so now you created that page, or you created, let's say you're doing 10 cities, and now you have 10 location pages, and you have your about, contact us, and your homepage. Where's your supporting content? Where's your internal content that's going to link to that? If you're going to try to rank that all by itself, for 12 months, I mean, you're lighting money on fire right off the bat. There's one. Number two, this mid-funnel content and top-of-funnel content creates the opportunities for internal linking to your bottom-of-funnel content to improve the rankings for this and reduce your external backlinking costs. So it's cheaper to hit these, and you get some branding recognition. Well, actually, I'll get on the branding in a minute. It's cheaper to hit these with backlinks and promotion than it is to do these, because the opportunity for backlinks and promotion is a lot higher for these, because it's not as commercial as these landing pages are going to be. So you flow that backlink juice to these landing pages through your mid-funnel and your top-of-funnel content. That's why you're doing content marketing. You get them here, they get some awareness of who you are, and branding is the last point. So awareness of who you are by answering these top of funnel questions, and then some discovery questions. So I'm aware of you. I might need you. I start asking questions, and then I want to hire you is essentially how this marketing funnel goes. It's pretty much the same for every purchase. Awareness, discovery, action, and flipping your SEO campaigns around. While this is where you start, yes, this is where you start. This is the primary focus. This bottom of funnel is your main focus of your SEO campaign, always and forever. But you don't do this. You're doing all three of those combined. And that's where this post, in my opinion, is misleading. If they are doing it this way, based off of what they're charging and stuff, I mean, 1 to 12 months without very much movement. I would argue they're probably not getting very much movement for 1 to 12 months without doing this stuff already. So I don't know if this is why it was written in this way, but I will say that it says agencies are pushing the wrong approach and calling it lower skills and all that. It's kind of misleading. It's a great piece of marketing if that's kind of how you want to go about doing your business. But I think if you have to talk shit about other people in order to make yourself look good, then you're already a piece of shit yourself. So not saying Ryan Stewart's a piece of shit, but this piece of content is not coming from a good place, in my opinion. My opinion. 10 Google Shopping product feeds. We've talked about this before in other episodes, but if you're not monetizing, if you're in e-com, you have to have a Google Shop product merchants feed. Get it working, get it filled out, get it optimized, regardless if you're doing Google Shopping ads or not. Look at the titles. Titles and descriptions are probably going to be the number one things. Pricing and all that stuff is fine. And images. Good imagery is also important. If you can't make it yourself, at least get some, images of your stuff with background removers and a little bit of AI image stuff. You can make some decent images out of your real products that people are going to get in your hand. Maybe some of this other stuff not necessarily needed, especially if you're not doing ad stuff, but for sure, titles, descriptions, and images inside of your Google merchant feed if you're doing any e-com stuff. So take a look at this. If you are doing PPC, get really deep into that. But if you're just doing SEO, Google Shopping, there is an organic part to that, focus to that too as well. And it's populated, and the product carousels are also populated with the Google merchant feeds. Look into that. All right. Let's get into questions. I have 3 questions. I'm going to do them backwards. So this one is 4 years, 200 plus projects, and now nothing. So basically what's happening is this is a white label agency, and it reads almost like they had one agency that they were doing white label services for, and that was their only agency. And then that agency decided, hey, I'm moving on to someone else. But for the lack of better understanding, we're just going to assume that they're probably a cheaper or a more expensive white label service, or they're white labeling things that can be done a lot cheaper nowadays with AI and Fiverr, and people can reduce their prices and stuff. So, I really wanted to get into is they're pissed because their clients, I guess would really be called, have found a better solution for their business, and now these guys are left out without any income. It implied that there's no income like that. And they act like it's they call it the white label trap. Really, it's the white label your fault is what's going on here. If you're going to do white label stuff, like I don't want to talk to clients, I just want to do the SEO, the rest is up to you. To me, that's what white label is. And if I'm going to provide that service, you're going to pay me the same as if I got that client yourself. So if you have to upcharge my service to make that worthwhile for you, right? Versus, because I'm not doing the client stuff, then I'm going to take less. No, I'm not doing it, right? But so that's one thing you do to avoid if you're going to do the white label stuff. You're charging the same as you would charge if you were getting that client yourself. So there's one. Number 2, never, ever, ever just only work with one agency. Have multiple people working with you. Don't spend all your time on one agency's projects. Get out there and find other projects to do. Number 3, find other projects in-house to do as well. You're already paying these employees. You're already paying these freelancers and stuff. And let's say you finish all your white label stuff and you have a couple days a month, 3 or 4 days a month, or maybe a day a week where you guys aren't doing anything. Have in-house projects to generate income outside of your white label stuff. So what I'm getting at is multiple streams of income, so you never have to worry about if one of these clients quit. The other thing is they sign an NDA. NDA is, depending on where your person, really NDA is only as good as the people that are honoring it at the end of the day. I think there was a thing in the news not too long ago where they're trying to get rid of these non-compete NDA kind of things and making them so businesses can't do them. But the long and short of it is, if you're doing white label and they make you sign an NDA and you agree not to publish like branding or show websites and say, look, we did this work, You are not violating that NDA if you're actually talking about these are steps we've taken on a website. You're not saying who it is, and these are the results we got. You're not saying who you got the results for. You're just creating a general case study. And it's totally fine to do that, even within the scope of an NDA, unless it's written specifically to say you're not. So you can't mention any way, shape, or form of the work that's in there. But that would be a really weird NDA, and I probably wouldn't sign it in the first place. If you just can't mention my brands, I don't want, and you can't go reach out to my clients on your own. That makes total sense for an NDA. But in this case, they're saying that they don't have any proof of other work, and really, it's just their fault. It's not because of the NDA. So, but those are some of the things you can break out of the white label trap. It's not a trap. You didn't want to deal with customers, or you couldn't get your own customers. So the better play for you was to be a white label agency. It's not a trap. That's a marketing model. And you take over overflow work for other agencies. You take over, you do for sales guys that are selling SEO and they want a fulfillment team. There's a big market for that. So don't think of it as a trap. The only thing that trapped you, if that's your only thing and your client quit, is your lack of insight to have multiple streams of income. Let's get to the YouTube comments, because you guys are on the YouTube, and I want to make sure I get your comments and questions answered. And this one's been sitting in there for a couple weeks now, but I need to get to it. So getting to the short, do you still recommend using @graph, like you said in your old training videos? So in whatranks.com, in the schema course there, I teach you how to write schema using @graph. And the reason for that is it is one of the fundamental ways to build together a good hierarchy inside of schema. The downside of using @graph is that you can break it pretty goddamn easy. so there's, you can put it together and do some hierarchy stuff, and it's almost like writing separate schemas, and you're just using @graph to put it all into one schema. That's essentially what it's for. I now would say that for the 99% of people, I have a ChatGPT that writes image schema for me, and when it combines it, it uses @graph to do it. So all it's doing is taking each schema for each image and putting it in @graph and then putting it into one schema. So now I only have one script, right? I teach now, though, that @ID is probably a better application, and then you don't necessarily have to worry about the ins and outs of what @graph does. You can break it pretty easy, and it's really complex, and probably more complex than you need to do. If you're creating a plugin like Yoast, for example, they have a really good implementation of schema inside of there. It's not the best, but it's the best plugin version of schema. They use @graph, and there's some practical reasons for that. Like 5 million websites have Yoast, and they got to be the good for everybody. So they use @graph to kind of get past a lot of the barriers that, being in that type of business creates. Whereas if you're doing your own advanced schema, then you definitely don't need to use @graph. Use the @ID to interconnect your schemas and create your hierarchical picture in order to tell a story of what your web page is about in the fastest, easiest way possible. And frankly, it doesn't break as easy. So am I using @graph still? Yes, but only on limited use cases. And I recommend you using @ID instead. And then our last question. I have an internal linking question. Separate roofing pages for each roofing service without location targeting. And should I link back to city pages or individual service pages? And this is really a question about your desire and how you want to have structure. And what I mean by by that is I prefer the model where you have city roofing or roofer. I think what is it? Roofing contractor, roofing. It was roofing something that was getting more traffic than roof replacement. Roofer is essentially the broad term, right? So you have city roofer, and then on the city roofer page, you list the different types of things that you do: replacement, repair, maintenance, and then you link to the website's main roof repair page. And then you link to the main roof replacement page, roof maintenance page, and etc. And you only have to have one of those service pages that supports the entire website. On those services pages, we offer this service in the following cities, and you link back to the city-specific pages, and you have this nice circle of life that goes on, and you actually take care of your internal linking that way. You can, if you have 10 cities, all 10 are linking to your service pages, and all of your service pages are linking back to your 10 city pages. You got a decent amount of internal link boost power going there. And you can actually build links to your service pages, and it'll, it'll increase the rankings of your location pages. So that's why I recommend that you link back and you only do one. Now, if you have another structure where, let's say, franchises, for example, where they're all using the same domain, then you're going to need to do have city service pages, individual service pages for each of the franchisees. Because if you send them to the corporate service pages, they could potentially pop out of their own individual funnel, and that's bad. But there is a benefit to having those individual service pages, and that's geo relevance and topical relevance. So you don't need as many geo posts to make sure that the actual location page is ranking for those services in a particular city. So there's benefits to both, and you just got to figure out your particular use case. So if I'm starting a roofing business right now, I build the model, my webpage. I would have location pages for the cities that I serve, and then I would services separately, and I can just add as many locations as I want to in the future for growth and just maintain those services. But if I was taking on a franchise client that was doing roofing, I would do the individual service pages route, and then the main service pages for the brand would not link back. Those wouldn't link anywhere. They would just drop and be a conversion point. Think of it as the last place standing for the brand and supporting the brand overall, where all my ranking focus would be the individual service pages and the city pages, because those are geo-targeted for each individual franchisee. So hopefully I've answered those two questions good enough for you. Hopefully you've appreciated this episode. If you have, hit the subscribe button down below. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Maybe tell your friends. Leave a comment. Ask your questions. Again, ask the questions in the comments, and we'll get to them for sure. And I won't have to research as many like on the Reddits or whatever, where those are the same questions over and over again. That gets tedious. So I appreciate each and every one of you who watch, and see you next week.